What's up, guys? We're in pre-show right now. Show is going to start in about 4 minutes, so we're just hanging out, chilling, getting all the streams and stuff set up. And I'm going to just make sure I can see all your comments and all those fun things. So I got to refresh a few pages here real quick. We're up on Periscope too? Sweet. Are we really?
Yeah.
It says, what's the title of the Periscope one? Because I'm not seeing. Let me try Pat Flynn again. Maybe it was the wrong one. Ah, there we go.
It should just load.
3 reasons why most people. What's up, guys? The Surfing Goat. Hey, good to see you. Not Mel. Not me. I'm perfect. Hey, Carl. Good to see you. Or Carrie. I'm sorry. Andrea was listening to SPI episode 254 earlier today. Thank you for being so authentic. Thank you for listening. I appreciate that. What's up, Wally? Hey, what's up, YouTube? Rich Underwood, Kiss Your Web LLC, Owled. Good to see you guys. Doing really well. We're in the brand new studio. I'll talk more about it in just 3 minutes there. As you can see, the countdown timer is there. Let's go to Facebook and see who's over on Facebook too. What's this all about, says Steve. Well, this is a live stream. We're live right now. I'm going to interact with you. You're going to ask questions, but it's not our traditional Ask Pat Live Fridays. This is actually just a short sort of, hey, this is what's going on, and I'm just going to be on authentic with you, as other people said already. I have a launch today. Today is launch day for my brand new course, Smart From Scratch, which I'll share in just a minute. For those of you just starting out in your business journey, make sure to pay attention when I talk about that. And if you already have a business, don't worry about it. I'm not going to talk about Smart From Scratch a whole ton. Some of you who are on the correct lists should receive notifications about that already. But anyway, let's see. Janice says, love that you're doing so many social media platforms. Go Pat, go Pat. Thank you. I'm actually simulcasting right now on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Periscope as well. I can see your comments too. And what's really cool, we have this really new camera angle in the room, and so we can go over the shoulder, and you can see there's Facebook right there, and there's YouTube. And if I were to move this over here, you could see Periscope as well. Hey guys. So how cool is that? Now, we're kind of just experimenting here, trying different things as we are getting this studio set up. Jason Gracia in the house, good to see you. Always a good friend of SPI, thank you for that. Mike says, hello from the cornfields of Nebraska. How crazy is that? That's awesome. I'm actually headed over to Columbus, Ohio pretty soon to attend a wedding. I love the Midwest. Moses Videos from YouTube says, hello from Argentina. Great work on everything you do. Thank you, I appreciate that. And guys, this is really cool. So we got a minute and a half left. Gonna answer a few questions that I know are gonna happen, and that is, what is this thing right here, this funky looking yellow thing that's happening? That's a JBL Bluetooth microphone, or not a microphone, a Bluetooth headset, or speaker, thank you. I also have Luria in the house as well, who's just supporting me today. She's from livestreamingpros.com, and we have David on the monitors in the control room, also from livestreamingpros.com, to switch between cameras for me. I'll be able to do that remotely myself using the computers up here, but I'm still learning the software, so I'm just kind of getting used to the whole thing. But anyway, shout out Bay Area Greg on Facebook. Yep, definitely. As you can see, I'm wearing sort of I'm going to totally do something I'm not supposed to do right now, and that's completely divide the audience from the start. You never want to do that, but I got to say, go Dubs, go Warriors. That's why I'm wearing blue and yellow, right? Go Dubs. You think we can go in 4? I don't know. I kind of want to go in 5 so we can win back at home. But anyway, I just lost like half the viewers right now who are Cavs fans. Let's see. Madeline Sklar on Periscope watching now, which is great. Setting up looking good, says Paid Insights. Thank you so much. Hey, we got 20 seconds before we get started. I have a little bit of content to share with you, but this is more of a experiment because I'm learning how to use this software and simulcast onto different places. Trying to learn how to manage comments from all these different platforms. Chris Murphy, go Warriors. That's awesome, says John Pullum. Oh, actually, I don't know why your message was retracted, John. That's weird. John says 10 seconds. Oh, wow, the countdown timer is gone. That's interesting. Anyway, the truth hurts. LeBron can't hang, says Andy. Anyway, thanks, guys, for being here. I appreciate you. This is going to be, I would say, maybe about 15 minutes in length. So if you have a little bit of time to spend with me today, first of all, thank you so much. And that's what you can expect. We are here live from SPI Studios here in San Diego, California. An office space, about 900 square feet. That's about 7 minutes from my home. So it's really cool because it's very convenient. And my family loves it because all the equipment that is used to make all this happen is not in the house. Actually, my wife April is quite happy about that. But it's also really cool because I can come into a space like this. It's already set up and ready to go, push a few buttons, although I'm still, again, learning how to use the software. And of course, you can see like the lower thirds coming in and stuff. We got a cool sort of second camera angle so you can look over my shoulder just like this. Nice timing there, David. And as you can see, the comments are coming in over here from YouTube and Facebook, and I also have Periscope coming in from here too, and a bunch of hearts coming in. Thanks for the hearts, guys. I really appreciate that. It's super sweet. Anyway, and again, today is launch day, a big day in the history of SPI because we are open for enrollment for my course, Smart from Scratch. We also have a graphic for that too, I believe. So if we want to throw that up, we can kind of see what that looks like really quick. I just want to share that. And that Smart from Scratch is now open for enrollment this week, and this week only. If you go to smartfromscratch.com, you can enroll now. I know a lot of students are in here watching the live stream right now too, but I also know that I'm so excited to welcome the new students. And enrollment closes Friday, and what this course will do is help you validate a business idea. So this is just for those of you who are just starting out in your online business journey. If you are up and running with a business already, don't worry about that. Anyway, okay, that's enough of that for now. Let's get into the content. You know, a little bit related to Smart from Scratch. I wanted to talk about in this video, in this replay, for those of you watching the replay, David's experimenting with some other cards over there. Cool to see the process, says Huil. Sorry, I totally butchered that name. Wow. See, the big challenge for me is with all these different platforms and all the different comments coming in, it's like I have to really be diligent with going to each of them to be fair to all the platforms, but also like they're all in different sizes and all this stuff. Anyway, Temple says, love Katie. Awesome. Smartfromscratch.com. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that and allowing me to share that. Now, let's talk about 3 different reasons why a lot of people don't start their own businesses. Now, a lot of you who already have your own businesses up and running, you might remember what this feels like, and feel free to chime in and offer your own thoughts based on the experience that you've had since starting. But as many of us know, the start is the hardest process, right? It's just like physics. Things at rest tend to stay at rest, right? But things in motion tend to stay in motion. So the whole trick of this whole business thing and improving your life is just getting started. And I found that once I get started with things, things finally start to happen, right? But it's the start that's the hardest part. So what are some stuff that stops people from getting started at all? Well, the number one thing, and I know this because I ran surveys on my audience, actually 10,000 people surveyed. The number one reason why people don't want to start a business is because they have a fear of failure. Now, I have a passion about talking about this idea of fears of failure because I had a huge fear of failure growing up. I was raised in a household where it was very common for me to quickly get pointed out what was wrong with me. And there's 2 parts to that. And, you know, I love my parents so much. My mom and my dad were fantastic. They supported me. They've taught me so much. But there's 2 things that kind of worked against me related to this idea of failure. First of all, my mom. She came from the Philippines, and Filipino culture, and this is a lot of Asian cultures too. You know, we have this, you just got to be great at everything, right? And school especially, it's like you have to be at your top, at the peak of whatever it is that you're doing. Sorry. First mistake. But also my dad, like I'd come home from school with a 96% on my test, and my dad would immediately say, hey, well, what happened to the other 4%, right? And so I grew up in this household where I had to try and be as perfect as possible, and every time I wasn't, I thought I was just not a good kid, or I thought I was failing and I had to study harder and I had to work harder to kind of make up that 4% without appreciating the 96% that I got right. And I think a lot of people live life that way, especially us older generation, and that might sound weird because I'm only 34, but you know, people my age and older, like we grew up understanding that, you know, you have to try and be as perfect as possible. Failing is bad. A big fat F with a circle around it on a paper is not good, and you get pushed behind. You don't get into the good schools if that happens. You need to get 4.0s and all that stuff. And it's hard because, you know, perfectionism, as Pamela here says, you know, perfectionism is simply an excuse because we all have that fear of failure, right? And it's sort of what we're conditioned to learn. And as I've grown as an entrepreneur, like I've learned to let go of many things from my past, my conditions, to be able to come out and reach higher and fly, if you will. Or will it fly? But really, what you have to understand is failure is a part of the process. This is something that I've now started to teach my kids. My son is 7, my daughter's 4. And failure, I try to teach them. I think it's just also not just how they're, you know, they're only 7 and 4, so how can they really be conditioned to learn that failure is bad? I've just also noticed that it's almost just a part of human nature to kind of feel bad when you fail and to feel like you're just not worthy if you come across something that you're trying to do and you don't do it the way you expected it was going to work out. And so failure is definitely there to stop people. Now, I've realized, and I want to credit Stephen Pressfield, the author of a book called The War of Art. Has anybody read that book? If you've read The War of Art, say yes in the chat, and I'll see if you guys have read that too. Now, it's a book that's great, but I haven't read it out loud to my kids yet because there's some words in there that I don't really want them to know at this age yet. But the idea about it is this fear, this self-doubt that you have is actually a sign. It's a sign that whatever it is that you're thinking of doing is actually worth moving forward with. And in my past, I've experienced several moments of that self-doubt and fear that when I've conquered it, it's always led to more amazing things. For instance, when I started my business in 2008 after getting laid off, a lot of fear into that, a lot of fear going into the October 2008 launch of my book to help architects pass an exam. Then in 2009 when I started my YouTube channel, in 2010 when I started podcasting, in 2011 especially when I got on stage for the first time. I was deathly afraid of getting on stage, and now I can't get off of the stage. I've built my own stage here because I just love being on it so much. But amazing things have always happened when I've conquered that fear. So if you feel that fear, if you feel that like tremble in your stomach or throat when you're trying to do something new and you're just kind of just really upset about it, don't be. Be excited about it. That's just exactly a sign that whatever it is that you're trying to do is actually worth doing. So please, that's how you kind of reframe or hack your mind, if you will. So let's see, a lot of people saying yes. Jamie, Carl, Dr. Brian, George, Elaine, Carl, a lot of people reading that book, which is great. Alex Soul from Facebook, Jody as well. I really love how you credit people, says Valinda. Thank you. I always try to do that because, I didn't come up with a lot of this stuff on my own, right? Like that's how a lot of businesses are formed too. They're not just brand new coming out of nowhere businesses. And actually, if you are creating a business that's completely brand new, scratch out of nowhere, you're going to have a much bigger challenge, right? Great businesses are ones that take solutions that are not that very good and make them better and fine-tune them to the audience that they are meant for, right? Think of the Segway. The Segway was this thing that we were supposed to kind of ride on and change how we're supposed to walk. And did it do that? No. Now I only see Segways downtown San Diego touring around the Midway and everything. But it just didn't impact the industry, or it actually was kind of creating its own industry. And because of that, it was very hard and very difficult and didn't kind of, it didn't turn into what the founders thought it was going to be, right? But when you take a solution that's kind of okay and you see that there's people who are not so happy with how things are, or maybe have a lot of requests for how things could be better, well, you make it better. Like this is why I love ConvertKit. This is a ConvertKit shirt, right? Teach everything you know. I love this. And what's really cool about ConvertKit is they didn't invent an email service provider, right? They just made that solution better for everybody who uses it. Now, there are people who are sort of beyond the level of ConvertKit who are using things like Infusionsoft or Entreport or Drip or things like that. But for bloggers and professional content creators, I mean, ConvertKit's where it's at. And Nathan, the founder, just made things a lot easier. So you don't have to invent the wheel. You just make the wheel better, right? Okay. How are we doing on the comments here? Shared, Petra shared. Thank you so much for that. Manir says yes. I like this setup, says Erica. Thank you, I appreciate that. Pat Flynn is a fear slayer, says Jamie on YouTube. Thank you for that. That's awesome. From a school teacher and entrepreneur, your words are on point about failure and parents, says Brian. Well, thank you for confirming that. That's why a lot of you who have been following me on Ask Pat Live recently on Fridays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, you might know that I've been talking a lot about education and trying to make a change with that. It was sort of phase one of my entrepreneurial career was just surviving. Phase two was then thriving and then, trying to get security financially and just have a business that I knew was going to be long lasting. Phase three has now been sort of more the philanthropic kind of stuff, which is why I'm on the advisory board for Pencils of Promise. I've gone to Ghana, we've built schools, I'm working in homeless shelters in LA and teaching entrepreneurship there. And now I'm like, okay, phase four, what's next, right? And this is why people like Elon Musk are huge inspirations to me, because Elon's brain is just like, it's just mind-blowing, right? Like he has no limits on what he thinks is possible. I mean, he wants to go to space, right? Or go to Mars and live there, or not him, but he wants to make that happen. So, I need to develop a brain like his so I can think limitlessly about how I can better provide for others who may not even be in my initial network. And through education is really what's really exciting to me. Are we zooming in there? Nice. Just framing it a little bit better. Cool. So anyway, I could go for days about education and what I think of it and where I want it to go and what I'm actually doing to make that happen. I got some big plans in the next 5 years you guys will see. And you guys are going to be the first to be like, man, I remember when Pat was on his little live video thing and now he's doing this thing in Washington. We'll see, guys. We'll see. What is the name of that book that talks about fear? Says Miss Angela Jordan. That is The War of Art. Not The Art of War by Sun Tzu, but The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Let's see. Are you using all 50 shades of gray in your sign, computer backs, and background wall colors? Yes, all 50 shades of gray, John. Actually, 51. I always try to over-deliver. Okay. Let's move on to the second reason why a lot of people don't start their businesses. And it's because they prefer security, right? Especially when it comes to income. Now, I completely understand, right? And it's really hard, especially when you have a family and you got things going and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this new thing, right? A lot of us feel like in order to do well with business and creating your own thing, you have to go all in with it. And yes, you should focus on it, obviously, and you should consider in your brain to go all in with it. But at the same time, if you've read the book by Chip and Dan Heath called Decisive, you'll realize that here's like one extreme of a decision and here's the other extreme. Like stay in your job or completely leave your job and try something new like I did when I got laid off. There's a lot of middle grounds. There's a lot of decisions that you can make in the middle of all that where you could potentially have the best of both worlds. And that's why I say, when a lot of people who are like, I don't have a lot of time to start a business, I'm already so busy. But then, like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, well, what did you do tonight? And people say, oh, I binge watched House of Cards. Like, right? He always says, stop watching House of Cards, explicitive, right? But beyond that, I feel like people can build their businesses in the morning, right? I used to be a night owl. The morning is when the magic happens now for me. It sounds kind of dirty, but I'm not going to go there. So here's what I would recommend to do. If you feel like you don't have a lot of time, make time for yourself by waking up earlier. That way, instead of focusing at the end of the day when you've already used your decision-making juices, when you've already devoted a lot of time, energy, and effort into helping somebody else fulfill their dream, start the day by fulfilling your own, even if it's only 30 minutes a day. That 30 minutes a day continues to add up over time, just like in the personal finance industry. You may have heard this phrase, pay yourself first, right? Which is, hey, when you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, just take a small percentage out, even if it's like 2 or 3%. Don't even know that it's going out. Just automatically pull that and put it into an account. And you'll realize over time that you've built this nest egg, right? Because you've paid yourself first. You can do the exact same thing in the mornings with your time. And that way you wake up fired up, ready for you. You're not setting an alarm for somebody else's dream or to help take somebody else to school or to do something else for anybody else. You're working on yourself. And this is, I want to give credit to Hal Elrod for inspiring me to really switch from the night owl life to the morning life. And if you followed me on Instagram stories, you'll realize that I wake up now at like 4 a.m., get some exercise done, I do reading, I do journaling, visualizations, all those kinds of things. So any Gary V followers out there? If yes, I think Ludo wants to know, and I think I would like to know too, because friends of Gary's are friend of mine's too. Let's see. Watching from Brazil says Renato. That's awesome. Great advice, says Wendy. Thank you. Kenneth says great advice. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to burst because I can't. Oh, things just disappeared. All right. That's all right. Woodworking Fangirl. That's awesome. Did you hear the podcast episode where I had 2 woodworking guys on the show, actually? It was really fun. Is your new standard audio quality we can always expect from you now? It's very good. Hey, David Luria, I got some comments about the audio quality. Thank you, guys. That's the audio quality you can expect here because it's all set up. And if we were to actually zoom out, you would see all this equipment. Actually, follow me on Instagram at Pat Flynn. You'll see behind the scenes. I'll put some behind the scenes stuff up to show you what the setup is like. Actually, we're also getting some new cameras too. We have a set over here with a couch. So if I have somebody who comes into the studio and you want to sit down and do an interview, we don't have to be up here. Right? We can be down there and we can have the second or third camera because we have this one up here over the shoulder. This is a multi-use space. I'm so excited about it. Anyways, cool. A lot of Gary V followers in here, which is cool. Chocolate Johnny in the house, at Chocolate Johnny. Follow him. He's such a nice guy and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to chocolate, which is why I'm scared to introduce him to my wife because she'd probably fall in love with him. But he asks, do you meditate and visualize, and how many? Yes, I do that every single day in the morning. Within a 30-minute time period, I do a few things. I meditate, I do affirmations, I visualize, which means like I'm literally closing my eyes and thinking about what I want to happen for a lot of big things. So for example, with the launch from Smart From Scratch today, a lot of yesterday was visualizing people actually going through the checkout process and actually sending me emails later on about how they've enjoyed the course and how it's helped them with starting their business and all those kinds of things. So yes, absolutely. John says, I like Gary Vee, but like your show with no swearing better. Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, I love everything Gary says, but I could not ever possibly share him with my 7-year-old. You know what I mean? I think there's a time and a place for that kind of stuff, and it's just not for me and my show. Emmer here on Facebook says, are you using live stream? Yes, absolutely I am. Watching from Guatemala, says Selvin. Awesome. Love to know more about visualization. Okay, that's cool to know. I'll make sure to keep that in mind as we produce more content here live. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do, and actually probably exercises that we can do together, which would be really cool. Here, but everything live is moving to TV availability, says Luria. Okay, so a lot of people prefer that sort of security thing, right? But let me talk about this really quick. So we're gonna go over the 15 minutes just because I'm having such a good time here, by the way. I need to better gauge how often I talk and respond and what content we have. But anyway, thanks for sticking around. If you gotta go, don't worry about it. Head on out. I'm sure there'll be replays and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So the security thing, right? Having a secure job, right? I thought I had the most secure job in the world. I was doing everything I could. This is back in anywhere between 2005 and 2008 before I got laid off. I was doing everything I could. I was doing a lot more than was asked in my job description, and I was getting promoted. I was getting raises. I was getting invited to the boss's house, like all the things that you might consider that would allow yourself to have a very secure job. And yet, even then, I still got let go. So what is security really? Is it leaving your future and your career in the hands of others? Or is it actually taking control for yourself? And after I got let go, after a couple weeks of depression and after really internalizing what had just happened and seeking help from others, I realized that I needed to make a decision to control my own future. And that if I were to get laid off, it would be my own fault, not because somebody else or some other government or whatever controlled, right? And so that's why I decided to become an entrepreneur. That's really the catalyst for all of that. Not to mention I got involved with a lot of communities, just like you guys are involved with the SPI community, to kind of help encourage me along the way. Whenever I had questions, this is another thing that really helped me along the way. Whenever I had questions, I stopped being afraid to ask for help. And I soon realized that there's a lot of people out there who would love to help. And this is why at least I think I am. I mean, you guys can confirm this for me, but I think I'm pretty helpful. And even though I've grown and it's not possible for me to reply to everybody now, I'm putting systems into place to make sure I can help as many people as possible. And I feel like, you feel like that I'm doing this for the right reasons, and that, my mantra of your earnings are a byproduct of how well you serve. Like, I hope you feel like I'm living that. Jason says, totally. Ethan says, always. On Periscope, Pamela says, yes. Here on YouTube, we got some conversations going on already. Definitely, says Casey on Facebook. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Actually, there's a question here related to sleep. How often do I sleep, or when do I go to sleep, and how do I wake up? Well, I want to credit Sean Stevenson for his book, Sleep Smarter, because there are tips in that book that completely changed my life. And some of them are big tips, some of them are small tips. One of the small tips is sleep in a colder room. It's going to help you get a better sleep. And so for me, it's not about how many hours I sleep, and I sort of am setting the fact up that I don't sleep many hours. But I get a lot of energy because I have quality sleep, and I focus on the quality of my sleep. I also focus on when I wake up. I wake up not mid-cycle in terms of my rhythms, right? But I wake up coming out of them, meaning I'm always waking up in a state of mind where I feel energy, not where I'm in deep sleep and I'm just still half asleep when I wake up. So a lot of you know that you might have been sleeping 8 hours, but still, I mean, you've experienced that, I'm sure. You slept 8 hours, but you still feel tired. Well, I sleep 5.5 to 6 hours a night, and I wake up refreshed, and I love it. I also exercise early in the morning to get those endorphins going, and that's that. So anyway, you have to do what works for you. That's right. Let's see, Luria put the link in Facebook to Sleep Smarter. Yeah, Sean Stevenson. If you check out that book and you get, there's just so many pieces of advice in there that are really helpful. Okay. Sweet. Okay, let's finish up. So, the security thing, I think security is really you taking control and actually putting things into place. And if you don't feel like you have the time to do that, like I said, pay yourself first with time, and that time adds up. But what I also love about that is if you have a limited amount of time, hopefully you'll take the mindset of, oh my gosh, I only have a limited amount of time. I'm going to make sure I do the things that are actually going to move the needle, that I don't waste my time. And that's kind of why I created Smart from Scratch. Anyway, one more thing. Number 3, you don't know where to start, right? There's so many things that you can do. You might have 1,000 ideas and you're like, I should do this one, or I should do that one, or I should do this one. Or maybe you don't have any idea at all of what niche you want to get into, in which case you're feeling the same way. Like, I don't even know what to do or how to get started. Well, that's why I think it's really important to just go and get started and experiment and fail, and don't worry about the fear. I mean, that's going to be a part of it, right? Go toward that. Fail, experiment, fail fast. Like, these are the kinds of things that I learned as I was getting started that really helped me, and it's counterintuitive, right? And I think there's a lot of us who are going to be like, Pat, I don't get it, I don't believe it, no thank you. And that's fine. If you are completely happy with that, that's totally okay. But here's a quote of mine that I live by, and that is, I'd rather live a life full of oh wells than a life full of what ifs. Like, do you guys know what that means? I'd rather live a life full of oh wells than a life full of what ifs. Meaning, when I'm older and I'm on my deathbed, the thing that I would hate the most is thinking, man, I should have done that, or I should have done this, right? At least I should be, man, I'm so glad I did that. Even though it didn't work out, at least I gave it a shot, because the unknowns of the what if, right, that crushes me. You could take that phrase, what if, and look at it in different ways. And I'm curious to know how you typically look at that phrase, what if? What if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? What if I get sued? What if this? What if that? All the negative sides of it, right? Or there's the what if this works? What if this changes everything? What if I actually succeed? Which one weighs more in your head? I think it's really important to consider that. And you might not know the answer right now, but it just takes a few moments to realize that, wow, you might need to shift your mind. And actually, wanted to jump in really quick before we finish up, and then we can do some Q&A for a few minutes here as we get into the half hour. That's why I created Smart from Scratch, guys. So just to be completely upfront with you, Smart from Scratch is the same process that I talk about in my book, Will It Fly? It's the same process. When I wrote Will It Fly, I thought that was going to be the solution that I could give to all the beginners out there to say, hey, here's the formula, here's the blueprint to make sure that you're getting into a business that's right for you and the market that you're getting into, that's going to be proven to work through these iterative experiments that you're doing, right? And even though people read the book, many people actually took action from the book, which is fantastic. But I even think about myself, my own reading habits. I read a ton of books, and I hardly take action on the majority of that content that I read. Now when I read a book, I try to make an exercise of, okay, what's the one thing I should do coming out of this book? What's the one thing I can change, or the one thing I can implement? It's always the one thing, right? Jay Papasan, Gary Keller, the one thing. But even though people read that book, people still wanted the hand-holding through that process. People still wanted the accountability, the knowing somebody was there on the other end, following and tracking their every move. And they also wanted the community and a little bit of access to me as well, because a book is a very lonely experience when it comes to reading, right? But a course, an online training course, is exactly what I created to make it much better for you to go through that process and to hold your hand along the way. So that's why I created Smart from Scratch. So really quick, I'm just going to spend a couple minutes showing you what's inside. So open enrollment happens now. I just opened the cart this morning. Hundreds of students have already gotten in, which is so exciting, and I cannot wait to start the process. There's going to be some office hours and community stuff, and I'll show you that in just a second. But smartfromscratch.com is where you go, and let me show you a little bit of what's inside. So, when you go inside, there's going to be a number of different lessons. For example, lesson 4 here, which is discovering your niche. There's videos, there's transcriptions of each of them, there's exercises that you go through, that sort of thing. In addition to the content, you're also going to get the community. So there's a Facebook student center where hundreds of people are coming in and they're talking and they're having chats with each other to talk about, okay, well, what's working, what's not, sharing wins along the way, all those kinds of things. There's also office hours. So office hours that I'm going to be holding, there's a student center right there that you're seeing right now. There is the office hours. So you'll see a number of office hours listed there. I blurred out the link just so we don't have random people coming in. But I'm holding office hours the entire month for people to help them get started, because I know when I started, having that ability to ask questions and get answers right away was really important. Now, in addition to that, you're also going to just, like I said, have access to that community and the accountability, and knowing that your completion through the course is being tracked so I can help you along the way. I mean, this course has already helped hundreds of people through that process. So I appreciate you guys. If it's not right for you right now, I'm not going to force it on you. But I will say that this is the last time it's going to be offered at this price, because as hundreds of new students are coming in, my team and I, we're going to be requiring a little bit more effort to actually take care of those people. And the final question I want to answer before we finish up is, hey, why do you close the doors to a digital course? The doors close this Friday, and this is actually a good lesson for a lot of you who have your own courses too. There could be the possibility of opening it up for the future, but I love doing it in groups like this in an open closed format, because I love teaching groups who are coming in all at the same time at the same level. It allows the office hours to be more focused. It allows the questions that are coming in from others to be read and also implemented to others in their own experience through the course as well. So anyway, all you have to do is go to smartfromscratch.com, and that's where you get it. I want to give a big shout out to one of our previous students, Jeff, who he's helping people with running. That's his niche. And he came up to me earlier and shared this message with me, which we'll share with you right now. David, J-E-P-H is the testimonial. So he said, after fumbling around for several months trying to launch a business, this course was a no-brainer for me. I don't think I could have purchased it any faster. It's insanely practical, and the community is super helpful. I'm pumped to officially be signing my first customer this week, thanks to Pat Flynn. Now, that's awesome. Jeff, congratulations. Not everybody who's gone through the course signs up their first customer, although that's the ultimate goal. I walk you through the process, just like in Will It Fly, on how to validate your idea to the point at which you can actually collect pre-orders and payments. That is the ideal way to go about it. But I will say a number of people have used the course to test their ideas and realize, holy moly, this is not a good idea at all. There's no room in the market, or there are other people already doing exactly this. I need to better think about this to find my position. So all that is in the course, and that's that. That's all I'm going to talk about it right now, because as you know, I don't get super aggressive with that sort of thing. And I also know, however, I need to be a little bit more aggressive because I know it can change people's lives. So I'm here for you guys. Looking forward to seeing you in the course. And again, if you already have a business up and running, that's not for you. If you're just starting out, you need that kick in the butt to get started. Smartfromscratch.com. Woo! Okay. All right, guys. Let's spend the next 3 to 5 minutes answering as many questions as I can. Probably like 1 or 2.
Michael on YouTube had a question about Smart from Scratch.
Oh, okay. Mike on YouTube had a question from Smart from Scratch. Is Smart from Scratch, is Smart from Scratch useful for someone that already has a site with 7K traffic per month and a defined audience, yet no monetization has been implemented? It can be useful for that. If you already know your niche, you may be skipping over to stage 3 actually of the course, which is really cool. But at that point, you might want to actually start testing different offers. What I would do is actually start coming up with ideas for different offerings based on what your audience is saying. Actually, I would initially just have conversations with them. If you don't know what it is you want to do to help them, have conversations with them first, pull out a few ideas and specific needs that you could offer, and then I would just, there's a number of ways to go about it. You can create a lead magnet related to that thing that answers that question right up front, and just see how many people you can get in. And if you can't get anybody in, downloading a free thing, well, what does that say about the paid thing down the road, right? You could also get people to register for a webinar so that you can then talk about this in more detail, get more information from them, but then potentially offer access to a course, for example. There's a few people in the course who are actually offering physical products too, and they're using this kind of situation and sequence to actually test those ideas too. Does it apply to people in MLM, says Kelly in Periscope? It depends. It depends on what it is that you're offering and how you might want to go about doing it. What's really cool about this course is it's specifically built so you don't have to pay money for anything else, right? A lot of courses are like, hey, you got to get this tool or that tool. You don't need any of that stuff with this course. It's literally for people just starting from scratch. And the price point right now is $197. The reason it's that is because it's high enough so it feels like an investment, but because you're at the beginning stages of your business journey, I know you don't want to just shell $2,000 on a product for something you've never done before. So that's why I selected $197. But like I said, the price will be going up just a little bit the next time it goes live after Friday's close. So anyway, thanks for allowing me to share that with you guys. I appreciate that. Great shirt, says Pamela on Periscope. Teach everything you know. That's exactly what I'm doing, guys. I appreciate that. I'll be honest, says Emmer. This is too salesy. First time I watched live. Thanks, though. Catch you again. Thank you, Emmer. I appreciate that feedback. The one thing I would say about that is if you have a product that you know is going to help people, you have to be salesy, right? So my question to you is, why do you feel like it's salesy? And what are those things that maybe in your head are making you feel like it's salesy versus what is actually something that is there just to kind of take money from you, right? And this course isn't for everybody. And if it's not for you, Emmer, that's totally cool. But if you have questions about it, let me know. If you feel like I could do this a little bit better, let me know. This is the first time I'm doing it. But it's something, if you really believe in it, you really have to push it out there. If you had a cure for disease, would you just say, hey, here's the cure and that's it, and only say it once? No, you would make sure it gets in front of the people who needs to see it. As Wally here says as Wally says here on Periscope, he says, teaching is serving. Teaching is serving. And this is the one big mindset shift I made over the past couple of years, because that's why I never had courses, because I didn't want to just sell, because I thought selling was bad. But now, after hundreds of people have gone through this course and some of my other ones, I've realized that courses are necessary for some people. You know, it's that investment to actually then take action. But Emery, and for a lot of you, maybe reading a book is all you need, or maybe you're just so self-driven that you don't need that accountability. When I first started out, I needed that. I needed a course. A lot of people, they've started on their own, and that's totally fine. This course doesn't take anything away from what I'm already offering. It's just an additional service to those who want it. So thank you for that. Selling is solving, says Jason. Love that, Jason. Yeah. Just a random question. Without you and others being salesy, where would I be without you and others being salesy, says Wally. Good question. $bazillion dollars on courses the past year I didn't need. Andrea, was that wish I had this last year? Oh, I see. So you've taken a bunch of courses from others that maybe weren't quite in your wheelhouse yet. That's totally normal. I understand. I've paid a lot of money for courses that I didn't need to, because, you know, that's the thing. You have to kind of judge who it is you're learning from. I've gotten sold to things I didn't need because they were just really good at saying the right things, right? They were really good at email copy, but I'll tell you, I don't spend a dime on a copywriter. I don't have a marketing person. I let my results speak for themselves. So that's that. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. People are still asking about this thing, which is so funny.
It's the pulse.
I think it's the pulse, yeah, because there's like a little button on top here that when the bass kicks in, it's like it really bounces up and down, which is really funny. Take action on what you learn, guys. This has been great. Let's see. Richard says, "Hey Pat, I was thinking about starting with the podcast course next month. Thinking I know my niche, but I've been sold on testing this first." Sweet, Richard. That's awesome. Thurman says, I haven't had a successful podcast, but I've been giving free detailed feedback to new podcasters. They all have appreciated it. And can I start a biz around that? Yeah, perhaps. I mean, let's just focus on that just to finish off. So Thurman says one more time, he says, I haven't had a successful podcast, but I've been giving free detailed feedback to new podcasters. They all have appreciated it. Can I start a biz around that? You can. But I would be very upfront with the fact that you don't have a podcast yet. But you know what? I've been able to give a lot of people advice and help people start their own food trucks. I don't have a food truck myself either. So you can be qualified to help people if you hadn't done that yourself yet. But you have to be very honest about that up front, because if you don't set that expectation and people are like, find that out later, well, then it's not going to work out really well. So I would always be very honest about that. Now, what you could do and what I would recommend, Thurman, is find one client who is a podcaster who you could serve, and have that be the start of whatever your business ends up becoming. You don't have to select exactly what the business is like right now, but try to find one podcaster who will pay you for this continued advice, almost like a podcast consultant or podcast marketer, or whatever it is that you're helping. That's what I would focus on, that one podcaster. And then you can grow your business from there. You might find that once you do that, that's not for you, right? Part of learning to start a business is not just finding a solution for a market, but it's finding an idea that works for you and the strengths that you have and where you want to be and what you want to do. I know a lot of people who started by finding people and working with them one-on-one and just really hating that, realizing that they don't want to do one-on-one. And so instead, they then created online courses to help serve their audience in a non-one-to-one kind of way, but more of a one-to-many, less sort of touch kind of way. So, have I been working out, says the Surfing Goat. Yes, thanks to Jeff McMahon from Total Body Construction for that. We train virtually Monday, Wednesday, Friday over FaceTime, which is really cool. Let's see. Let's take one more question and then we'll finish up. Let's see. What?
Sean on Facebook, can you build a smaller business with lower investment time?
Sean on Facebook says, can you
build a smaller business with a lower investment of time?
Can you build a smaller business with a lower investment in time? You know, I think it depends, right? The time that you spend, it really matters on where you spend that time and perhaps who else you have to help you or what other pieces of software can help you automate. So you can build a big business with a small amount of time. I think it just depends on where you spend your time and what that energy is focused on, right? That's the big thing. A lot of entrepreneurs, we focus on too many things, and I know because I do. But it's when I have been focused on a few things, or actually one thing in a concentrated time period, when things actually get done. So you might have a small amount of time, but that doesn't mean you can't make a big impact. There was a song called Fight Song that's like takes one wave to something or ocean. I forget what the lyric is. Anyway, I screwed that up. But anyways, Melanina says, love the studio. Looks great. Hey, guys, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. Again, if you want to check out Smart From Scratch, if you're just starting out in your online business journey and you want me to guide you through that process, smartfromscratch.com is where you go. Enrollment closes Friday, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any comments for the stream and how I might be able to improve it, I would love that because I want to be the best live streamer. That's my goal. That's what I always say about everything I do, which means like, and I'm never usually the best, but that's what I strive for, so that even if I'm second or third or fifth or 10th, at least I'm better than who I am now. So I'm always trying to improve, and you guys are the reason, and you guys can help. So thank you so much. Leave feedback when you can. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys live later this week during launch week. Appreciate you. I'll see you guys. Take care.